What's going on, Jeromes? Happy Monday out there, everyone, everywhere. Daily Jeromes live stream, 11 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Thursday, unless I go to an undisclosed location. Thanks for coming along. We got a bunch of Q&A. A lot of stuff going on, man, since last time we chatted. Stafford getting shipped to L.A. for, like, all the picks. Kirk Cousins back on the trade block. Man. Senior Bowl went down. It's a good time. All right, let's hammer this thing. Tommy Johnson. Andy, love the content. Thank you. Keep it up. That's what she said. How do you feel about holding on to Kirk? Yeah, drafting Trey Lance at 19. Yes, trade down. I don't know if Trey Lance gets to 19, but in the possibility he gets to 14, or say the Vikings are really in on Mac Jones, I'm sort of indifferent. Taking a quarterback at 14, I would understand the logic. Plus the fact the way that the draft is structured in terms of depth, because you're going to be able to come away in the third and fourth round with some starting caliber offensive linemen, defensive linemen, safeties, which are all positions in need for the Vikings, and the Vikings do have a glut of those mid-round picks. So essentially you're just writing off your first-round pick, set it and forget it for a couple years. I would get it. I would understand it. Chris Danny Hansen. Skull from Foley, Minnesota. Love your content. Keep up good work. Hey, thank you. What are your thoughts on all the recent coaching hires? That's a good-looking question. So we should bring up the list. So recent. We're the new coaches in the NFL. All right, so Jaguars, Urban Meyer. I get it. I get the draw, and I don't think that he's going to have a problem transitioning to the NFL. I think that he's smart enough to be able to delegate. He surrounded himself with lots of former NFL coaches, so it does make sense. Robert Saleh, I think, is a home run hire by the Jets. Now, you could say they should have gone offense, but they are bringing the lesser LeFleur with them. Actually, the better LeFleur. Falcons, Arthur Smith. I mean, Arthur Smith deserves a lot of credit for transforming that Titans offense, especially getting the best out of Ryan Tannehill. I think that he's the right man for the job because they had gone defense before, because they had Mike Smith and then they had DQ, Dan Quinn. I always get Dan Quinn and Gus Bradley mixed up, I guess because they're both defensive coordinators, formerly of the Seahawks, who look like Stone Cold Steve Austin, but nah. And then Chargers, Brandon Staley. I didn't know enough about Brandon Staley. He comes over as defense coordinator from the Rams, but defense going a different direction as opposed to Anthony Lynn, who is offense, sure. Lions, Dan Campbell. So this one was surprising, but I do think Dan Campbell is a solid leader of men, even though he's going to tear off everyone's kneecaps or bite off everyone's kneecaps. Going to get both of them. But I thought that he should have been in the mix more. After his interim head coach season with the Dolphins, was that 2014, 2015, somewhere in there. He was rumored twice to be potentially brought on the Viking staff, but didn't happen. Eagles, Nick Sirianni. I don't know Nick Sirianni from Adam, but they wanted to get back into the Frank Reich tree, and they couldn't get Frank Reich back, so they just took the next best thing, former OC of the Colts. Now, the fact that Eric Bieniemy didn't get a seat at the table, I think he's just biding his time. And I actually do think that Eric Bieniemy is interviewing teams just as much as teams are interviewing him. Because, I mean, would you really want to take over the Texans? No. Oh, by the way, so the Texans hiring, who'd they hire? The 65-year-old passing game coordinator from the Ravens. Oh, David Culley. So David Culley, career position coach, first shot as being a head coach. He's 65. Like, 65 is the age where coaches retire or become senior advisors. So that really is amazing. I mean, he's entering a mess. I do wish him luck, but I don't know. Let's hear who's next. Patrick Harms, Vikings interviewing Giants wide receiver coach Tyke Tolbert. Yep. Following Rooney Rule guideline. I think it's more than that. I actually think that Tyke Tolbert, I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't get the OC job, but that goes to Clint Kubiak, but he is brought aboard as like assistant head coach or senior offensive advisor. It would make sense. Rudy Peel. Oofed, I'm late for these questions. I've been seeing a lot of tweets about Micah Parsons having character issues, so I looked them up and saw there's a scandal-like incident happened at Penn State. What are your thoughts on affecting the draft? So it's you need to be very precise with the language. So scandal, incident, Penn State. That means one thing. This is something completely different. So, Micah Parsons was allegedly and other handful of Penn State players involved in a hazing incident, which is currently being adjudicated. I believe the former player is suing the school. So it's not a great look. It's not ideal. It didn't affect Yetter Matos' draft stock. He still went second round last year, which is about where he should have went. But he allegedly was involved in that. So I don't know. Some teams may take him off the board completely. I don't believe the hype that he's going to fall out of the first round. Like he is a top 10, potentially even a top 5 talent, even though teams generally don't take off-ball linebackers that high. But yeah, some teams will just pass on him just because of that, and rightfully so. Like it's not great. It's not ideal. But I do think that some teams will ignore it, take the shot, be like, kid's grown up, he's learned from it, all that stuff. And all it takes is one team. All right. And it's so funny, NFL teams, look, we will not stand for these character issues in the first round, but if he ends up in the third round, hey, Paisan. Yeah. Robert Barweiler. I think we should call Eric Bieniemy about being OC head coach and waiting. It is tempting, but I think they do want to give Clint Kubiak the old college try. Plus, I don't think that the Vikings want to pay out what it would take to pry Bieniemy to be that OC head coach in waiting. I'll let like the Jason Garrett role when Wade Phillips was head coach of the Cowboys. Michael Merchant Robles. Thoughts on Quincy Roach from Miami Hurricanes. Also love your channel. Keep up the good work, Andy. Thank you. So Quincy Roach had himself a nice little Senior Bowl week, played well in the game too, practiced great. And even though Jalen Phillips does get all the hype from Miami, as well as, of course, Gregory Rousseau, I mean, if you ask me straight up, who's the better specifically edge rusher prospect, so not, so taking away Rousseau's positional flexibility, it might be Quincy Roach. It really might be. I think that he is certainly working his way into the day 2 conversation. Pulford Skull. After the insane Lions-Rams trade, Slick Rick should trade Kirk to the Dolphins for both their first-round picks this year and Tua. I mean, no. I mean, a big portion of that trade was them taking on Jared Goff's contract so that the Rams didn't have to make 2 stops. Tristan Bailey. I have 1 semester left in my senior year of high school. What are some words of advice you would give me going forward? Stay out of debt. Save money. Invest. Also, don't invest in trends. Like, I know everyone's like trying to get rich off of Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies or GameStop to the moon. No, don't chase trends. Stay out of debt. Save money, set some aside, invest, value invest for the long haul. When you buy a stock, don't buy it with the intent of selling it and flipping it and making a quick buck. No, invest for the long term. And also, I don't know if you're going to college or not, but focus on, giving yourself flexibility and learning a trade that will have value and utility to the open market. So, dance theory or Canterbury Chaucer English studies. I mean, they're great. They do have their role in the market. But, I mean, if poop does hit the fan, accountants, welders, electricians, plumbers, I mean, just get yourself a trade that you can still hang your hat on that gives you flexibility, where if you have an option to take a chance, start a business, take a job that you do have to go to school for and do all that, and say it doesn't work out, you still have this trade to fall back on. So become a nurse. I mean, I was going to need nurses. Are you Filipino? Lots of Filipino nurses. But yeah, give yourself a fallback option. Study something initially that has utility, and if you want to branch out to something else, something creative that definitely strikes your fancy, absolutely, go for it. But also, first of all, save your money. Plus, stop wasting money trying to impress people. Nah. Well, what is the old saying? Don't spend money you don't have to impress people that you don't like, because they don't care anyway. It doesn't matter. Because a Lexus drives the same as a Toyota. I mean, they're made by the same people. So, Chris Danny Hansen, if Zimmer is fired after next season, would Andre Patterson go with him? I would hate to lose him. Really good positional coaches do have staying power. Like they can survive regime changes, and I think Patterson certainly could. Jens Harold Claudius. What are your thoughts on rookies branding themselves with clothing line? Social media, I get it, but I feel in many ways, many of them are so unprofessional. They would get so much more if they were focused on football. Well, all right, so is this a veiled shot at Jefferson? So Jefferson, YouTube channel, has his personal logo, starting to brand, all that stuff. I mean, he is focused on football. I mean, like a lot of his stuff, a lot of his content is him working out. And there are teams you can outsource this, so it's not him specifically just going on the gram and doing all the stuff. So I think it's fine. And I mean, people, all these young kids grew up in the the Kobe, the LeBron era, so they do understand making them a brand. Of course, Kobe and LeBron grew up in the Jordan era. He was the pioneer of building yourself into a brand. So, no, I don't blame these guys at all. I mean, they're going to be superstars, and making sure that you have something, that a brand or a legacy that you can carry on after your playing days, I think it's really smart. Mitchell Rauscher. Ever been to Amelia's in Danbury, Wisconsin? Family-owned business, but great breakfast. It will keep you full for a while. I have not, but incidentally, so we've had some good times in Danbury. We'll just leave it at that. Jack Barnaky. If I was 12 years old when Andrew Luck was drafted, so I don't really remember the draft type for him. How does Trevor Lawrence's draft type stack up to Luck's? I think it's relatively similar. So Luck was the number 1 overall pick in 2012, taking over RG3. And he came in, solid arm, not the biggest arm in the world, but solid, smart decision with the football, mobility, had the size as well, could dump truck you. So, yeah, he does comp relatively well to Trevor Lawrence, even though arm strength wise that they're not the same. But Luck and Stafford, he played under Harbaugh, he played in a pro style system, so he had that going for him. And for a number of years, like probably not since his freshman year, but probably sophomore year, he was penciled in as a number 1 overall pick. Stayed through his senior year, still went number 1. And yeah, the hype was legit. It was suck for Luck for a number of years, and I think Lawrence's draft type is pretty similar. Adnan S. Who's more likely to become a Viking, Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson? Deshaun Watson, but the chances are still like 2%. Rodgers 0.01%, because the Packers aren't going to cut him, and if they traded him, they wouldn't trade him to the Vikings. So yeah, it's pretty low. Miles, how much of an impact will Pierce have when he comes back? Standing up against the run, and also I think that Eric Kendricks will benefit mightily just by having a giant-ass nose tackle who can two-gap in front of you. Just going to make life so much easier. Max Kallenberg. Outside of a few drops by Jefferson, was there anything that he did wrong? Well, I guess outside of the normal rookie stuff, especially once he started getting treated like wide receiver 1, I think after the bye, so the second Packers game, Jair Alexander was trailing him. So I think that he will have to adapt to being the man, because you look at guys like Nuke Hopkins, where there's one thing to be really good and get open when you're the number 2 guy, like Juju Smith-Schuster. But like Nuke Hopkins, like every single time he takes the field, or Stephon Diggs this year, everyone knows that you're wide receiver 1. You're going to get trailed by the best cornerback. You're going to get shaded coverage your way. You're going to get help over the top, and they still produce. So I think Jefferson is working through that. He had some couple quiet games down the stretch when the secret was out about him. But, I mean, you can't really are nitpicking, where I think Jefferson really is going to rise up to that challenge. It's like, hey, cornerback 1's going to follow me. Okay, it's going to be a long day for you, bro. Love it. Ezekiel Lockhart. Per CBS Sports, Packers rejected the Rams' proposed trade to acquire Aaron Rodgers. Rams, in a fit of rage, settle for Stafford. Might not be long of a seller done for both teams. Now, I think they're in on Stafford, but they definitely buzzed the tower on the Packers about Rodgers. And it's easy to, we talked about this. It's really easy to reject the Rams trade offer when the Rams don't have a first round pick. But what happens if the Jets or the Dolphins come knocking? Then it would be like, oh, are you really so adamant, Packers? We'll see. Let us know where we're watching from. We'll give a couple shout outs. I always like doing that. Just making sure. Oh, yeah, the Cousins video is up. Stonks. Next up is Samson Romaine. I read somewhere the Texans would trade Watson for 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 starting defensive players. So here's my plan. Trade Kirk and the Niners for a second. Barr and Afadi. Well, are they taking any 2 starters, or they want specific ones? I don't know if they would go for that. I mean, they might, but nah. Miles, shout out to Preach Paul. Hauling up for all y'all. What's up? Michael Lewis. Given the girth of talent in the second, third rounds this year. Would you trade out of the first completely, say, the Jags for their 2 second-rounders and a third? Well, sure, but why would the Jaguars do that? I mean, they're a young team, and they see the draft similarly, where there's a lot of talent on that day too. Why would they give up, unless they're specifically coming up for a player, which I don't know which one they would, since they already have their quarterback at Trevor Lawrence at 1. Like, why would they give up 2 seconds and a third to come up 14? But even if Darrisaw's at 14, hell, I'll just stick and pick Darrisaw. Max Kallenberg, do you take anything away from the Vikings interviewing a wide receiver coach from New York? Given his history with Kubiak, I think he could be interviewing for a spot that's not OC. Plus, with the new Rooney rule, they do have to check some boxes. Skull Lee, if Stafford is getting 2 firsts, Cousins should be getting as much. Again, for the 17th time. So people ran with this after the Stafford trade. Well, if Stafford is worth 2 firsts and a third, I mean, imagine how much Deshaun is worth. Now, I mean, in a vacuum, if they were simply trading Stafford and not getting Goff, he probably gets a future first and a third. That's probably about his equilibrium value. The Lions got a future first for taking Jared Goff and his stupid contract off their hands. So, yeah, I know I hear all this. Well, if Stafford is worth this, Deshaun is worth 7 first-round picks. No, he's not. No, he's not. All right, a couple shout-outs. Let's see here. Nick Kuzis, Skull from Fargo. What's going on? Purple Rain, Skull from Wausau, Wisconsin. What's up? Diego Suarez, Houston. H-Town in the house. Patrick Harms, Cedar Rapids. What is the dill? Skull from Philly. Philly. Jacob Mejia, Megat, Oakdale. Mike Benham, Grand Rapids. Pulford Skull, Nashville, Tennessee. What's up? You guys are the best. Thanks for coming along. Next up, Jake Cook. Should we be scared of the Bears if they got a somewhat good quarterback? Well, they won't ever, so no. Jake Lagavin. If you were the Vikes, would you rather done the Stafford deal to get Cousins off the books? No, I don't want Stafford. Cousins is better than Stafford. And it's so interesting. So Stafford had one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. His team never won the division. He's only gone to the playoffs 3 times. He's never won a playoff game. Yeah, he simply skates by on blame of the Lions for the last 12 years underachieving. But, I mean, Kirk Cousins is always to blame for the Vikings. Even if it's the defense and special teams that are ass. Oh, Kirk Cousins' fault. I'm wrong. And Stafford, like, legit, I mean, the national media was like, they were treating him like the second coming. Like, they honestly treated Stafford like Peyton Manning in free agency in 2012. It's absolutely blowing my mind. Like, Stafford is respect, like a tough, solid, strong-armed, top 12 to 15 quarterback on a given day. He is not the savior. Like, he is not the guy that's going to put the Rams over the top. Besides that game where he played with a banged-up shoulder against the Browns in, like, 2009 or 2010, name me the signature Matthew Stafford win. Point to it. And I know people point out, well, he's had a bunch of fourth-quarter comebacks. That's because his stupid play put him in the hole in the first place through the first 3 quarters. That factors in. It just really blows my mind, man. And it turns me into a Kirk Cousins apologist, which I'm not. I mean, we call balls and strikes with Kirky. But like we've said outlined here before, like Kirk Cousins is the little brother of the Vikings fan base. Like, we can beat the shit out of him all we want, but if anyone else tries to mess with them, you got a problem on your hands. It's just crazy. A couple more shouts. Ira Coffin, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Pig Suey. Jabrisky, Skull from Trempolo. What's up? Press Start Fitness, Skull from Salt Lake. Nathan Scyther, Skull from Colorado Springs. What's going on? Joel, Skull from Sweden. I was going to say hi in Swedish, but I forgot how to say it. Langenberry. Next up, Hayden Ziegler, thoughts on the Notre Dame linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah with the long name. Is he worth taking 14? Joke, probably not. No, I think if they did take a linebacker at 14, I think Parsons would be the only one if he fell, potentially. So Zaven, Bolton, Joe, no. But he is super intriguing so since teams are adapting to offenses using tight ends more in the slot, more split out wide, you do need more guys like Owusu-Koramoah, where before, like 10 years ago, I mean, he wouldn't really have a position. Is he a safety? Is he a linebacker? But now, I think since everything is sub-package, having Joke as a weak side linebacker / playing in the slot / a third safety, it does make a ton of sense and has a lot of value for these teams. So I think that he still goes late first round. I mean, if a team like the Chiefs got him, that sucks. That does suck. But Jerry Jones, the Lizard King. Goff in Honolulu Blue feels like something out of a fever dream. Is this trade Detroit positioned to make a move for Deshaun? They do have 5 first-round picks in the next 3 years, more than any other team, so they certainly could go after him. Jeff H. What do you think about getting Kleinsasser in the Ring of Honor? It would be awesome as a meme. Like, I think that the Vikings should put it out as a poll. Like, which player would you like to see vote in the Ring of Honor? And then the Vikings just pile drive it, like Reddit has been pile driving stocks, and then just get after like Kleinsasser by $1 billion. It'd be funny, but on its face, yeah. Jen's Harold Claudius. If Dakota State's got an NFL team, what would their name be? Dakota Dodgers? No, they'd be the Rapid City Monuments, like from Batman, The Dark Knight Rises. Thomas Lewis. Vikings trade for JJ and Tunsil. What would they have to give up? God. I mean, J.J. Watt, so we'll say a third-round pick for J.J., sure. Tunsil, you might have to give up 2 ones, or a 1, a 3, and Daniil. So, I mean, Tunsil might be the best left tackle in the league, and that's no cap. Nick Kuzis, if Penny Sewell actually falls out of the top 8 picks, should the Vikings trade to go get him? Yeesh. I don't think he will, though. Bruce Robeson Jr., our thoughts on bringing back Jerick McKinnon. I would be okay with it. I would be. But also, he would have to return kicks and punts. Also, if Texans cut J.J. Watt, he would go for him. I don't think they'll cut him because I think he has significant trade value. I think that he'll go somewhere for at least a third-round pick, maybe some more. Abza Abdi. I like the Rams-Lions trade because it shows the Vikings that you don't have to wait till March to clear up cap space or require draft picks. I mean, yeah. I don't agree with the Rams going for it, but I mean, this could seriously blow up in their faces. And also, they didn't necessarily need to clear cap since they're essentially swapping out Goff for Stafford, but yeah, I get the point. Apex Legends Gamer, would trading for Watson influence Hunter's contract negotiations if Hunter's willing to play for less, bring in mega superstar quarterback as prime? I mean, maybe, but also Daniil's been severely underpaid for a number of seasons. So, I mean, it could influence a little bit. I don't think it would be the be-all, end-all. Thorvald Von Johnson. Would you be okay if Kirk was traded to the Niners and won the next 2 Super Bowls? Yes. But, man, the Kirk Cousins zealots, mainly the fantasy football guys, would be so pissed. But that's okay. We can just ignore them. Juby I612. Are they waiting to announce an OC because they want to interview some more candidates? I don't think they necessarily want to, but they're required to have it be an open interview process. Plus, I do like the idea of Tyke Tolbert being added to the staff, not as wide receiver coach, but as like a senior coach emeritus, like what Kubiak was supposed to be in 2019. Torrey Hansen. Is there any offensive players in this draft that in about 2 to 3 years has Quentin Nelson type talent in your opinion? Quinn Nelson type talent. I mean, Quinn Manners is the obvious answer, but I'd really like Ben Cleveland. I really like Landon Dickerson. I really like Trey Smith. Like the non-scheme fit interior offensive lineman in this draft, I'm really all about. And also, you throw in David Moore from Grambling, who's just an absolute fun bowling ball, a guy who just gets after. But Quentin Nelson's high. I feel like if they had that ceiling, we would have seen some flashes of it already. I mean, Cleveland was a 3-year starter. Trey Smith was a 4-year starter. Landon Dickerson was between Florida State and Alabama a 3 or 4-year starter. So no, there is no Quentin Nelson. R-Free, although Rashawn Slater, man, woo, R-Free. How do you think the lower cap will affect the future contracts? Will positions plateau at current rates or continue to rise for premier players? Well, even though teams are working with a lower number, I mean, there still will be demand, and I think the top end players will still be able to, get top end contracts. But I think what will happen is that you're going to see a lot of 1-year deals. Guys like like Eric Wilson, guys in that sort of second to third tier of free agents will sign the 1-year deal, and hopefully the cap will go up in 2022, and then they'll be able to cash in that spot. So, yeah, it's going to be a really interesting free agent market. Chris Danny Hansen, who lost the most in the Stafford Goff trade, Lions or Rams? I think the Rams did. I think the Rams are gambling that Stafford is that missing piece. And I mean, I guess the Rams are used to not having first-round picks. They haven't had one since 2016 when they ironically took Goff at 1 overall. So, yeah, I think the Lions are in a great position. And I don't think that Jared Goff is going to be their future franchise quarterback. In fact, I think that he might get traded again this offseason. But the fact that they have 5 first-round picks now, it's a nice little setup for Brad Holmes. Michael Merchant-Robles. Do you think James Lynch will get more playing time this year? And do you think the Vikings should resign Hercules Mataafa? Well, he better. He better. Like, James Lynch, I understand. Maybe he doesn't practice well. Maybe he doesn't do this. Maybe he doesn't do that. Maybe he's just adjusting to the NFL game as a full-time interior. I understand that. But, I mean, the caliber of play on the defensive interior for the Vikings this year was abysmal. It was pathetic. And the fact that James Lynch didn't get more shots, it's appalling. It is. And Herc, I would re-sign Herc, restricted free agent. I wouldn't put a second-round tender on him, though. I put him out original round, and if he gets picked up, he gets picked up. Is Kirk Cousins worth a first-round pick? Yes. Especially since the Vikings have leverage now over the Niners since Stafford is off the market. Superman GT, would signing Larry Fitzgerald this offseason benefit the Vikings? I think it would benefit the fan base more, but Fitz, unless it's league minimum and he's like wide receiver 4, nah. Harvey Melber, best case scenario, the Vikings roll Kirk, trade for OBJ, sign Joe Thuney. I agree with everything except for trading for OBJ. No need that. Jared Cook, isn't it crazy how the Jags go from a 1-15 team you did with free agency, draft a league quarterback, Canada, better the best offensive line. So we did a full Jaguars offseason. Had a lot of fun. It's good times. They could get good really fast, especially in free agency, especially with Trevor Lawrence. Jaime Coogan, which linebackers do you like in this draft? Well, I do like Parsons, but it's a toss-up with that off-the-field stuff. I think Zaven Collins has a chance to be really, really good. If you watch Zaven Collins, like you see Kendricks in terms of coverage, but also a harder hitter. I mean, Zaven Collins is really good. I do like Nick Bolton in terms of like your meat and potatoes linebacker. Joke in terms of specialized hybrid money backer type guy. I do enjoy both of the Ohio State guys, Borland and Browning as like day 3 selections. And I've always liked KJ Britt. And you'll notice in some of my mocks, or most of my mocks, I do have like the Vikings going KJ Britt or Patty Fisher in the 7th round. Spielman always gets a late round linebacker. But, I mean, since he had such a great Senior Bowl week, that might go up. So it's unfortunate. I mean, KJ Britt is a dude, man. I really like him. Jack Cook, will the Vikings make the playoffs this year? Yes. Purple People Eaters. Do you think there will be mutual interest between the team and Thielen for him to become the wide receivers coach after he retires from playing? I don't know, maybe, but I mean, good players transitioning to coaching doesn't always take, as we saw from Terrence Newman going from a veteran cornerback to being assistant DB coach and then quitting after a year. So I don't know, but I think Thielen would have plenty of other opportunities if he did want to get into coaching. But if you want to pay it forward, that'd be cool. Miles, do you think they'll make a run at Thuney, Scherf, or Williams? I think Trent Williams is going to be retained by the Niners. I think they'll find a way to do it. Scherf might be tagged again, or Washington might keep him. But, I mean, Thuney's going to be let go. The Patriots have too much money tied up in Shaq Mason, and I think Onwenu's best to use as guard. So, yeah, I think Thuney's going to be free agent. Market's going to be heavy, though. Heavy. Would love to see it. Jack Cook. Who will be better this year, the Rams with Stafford and that defense, or Niners all healthy? Well, it depends on who the Niners quarterback is. Say the Niners quarterback is Kirk Cousins, I'll take the Niners. Steve Patton, work the cap, buy Stephen, Rudy, Barr, Harris, etc., sign Thuney and Scherf. Woo! Like we did with Remmers Reef, Ezra left tackle profit. I would be okay with that. I'd be all in. Greg Wesley, thoughts on Benjamin St. Justy? Thoughts on potential day 2 or 3 pick for the Vikings? Well, I would have liked to see more from him. So he's the Gophers defensive back the last 2 years. He transferred in from, was it Michigan or Michigan State? It's one of the two. But he's tall, he's got length. He's sort of like a quicker Jeromes Curse, where sort of an all-purpose defensive back, safety, big nickel, etc. Would have liked to see more from him this year. I don't know about a day 2 pick, but certainly could be in the day 3 mix. Sure. Abza Abdi. Let's say we lose out on Watson. Would you go for Dak, or is health too much of an issue? I think Dak is going to be retained by the Cowboys, but no. Bill. 3-team trade idea. Patriots get Cousins. Vikings get Deshaun. I'm in. No, I'm in. I don't care the rest of the details. I'm in. Miles, what's better, Carbonis or Red Savoy? Date night, Red Savoy, or Savoy, however it's pronounced. Family night, Carbonis. I mean, your kid really likes the Carbonis pizza. Pulford Skull. Vikings report they want to hire an older, most seasoned coach at OC. Fact or fiction? False. MJ the GOAT. Why? Rams fans. Patrick Harms. Why does Jack Anderson have to look identical to Elfline? I hope his game is much better, but that's not saying much. No, his game is a ton better. Plus, has an absolute phenomenal anchor, throwing dudes around into the Big 12. Jack Anderson, probably Texas Tech. Super sleeper. Well, not super sleeper, but mid-round offensive guard that I really, really like. Ezekiel Lockhart. Number 1, what sport do you think takes the most skill level and endurance? My personal opinion is hockey. I would agree with hockey, because not only do you have to have crazy endurance, you have to do it while skating, and certainly not everyone can skate. Number 2 is here in Chicago Bears media talk about trading for Wentz or Dalton. Also heard Derek Carr thrown in. Also known, can you say fake-ass Brett Jones? Fake-ass Brett Jones. Trading for Wentz or Dalton. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, isn't Andy Dalton a free agent, though? I thought he signed a 1-year deal. Or did he sign a multi-year deal? No, he signed a 1-year deal, so they could just sign Dalton. I think the Raiders will probably just cut Derek Carr so they could just sign him. But, man, they're grasping at straws, man. It's rough. Sucks to suck. Miles, will Daniil get paid? Ish. Cole Habza. The only thing harder than being a Vikings fan, is being a Vikings fan and a Huskers fan. However, seeing a Husker fan like JD pay a couple of huge steal in later rounds, what do you think of that? I think that would make sense. Had sort of a meh final season at TCU. In terms of being a return guy, yes. I think Spielman had, 3 years of 800-plus yards receiving? I think that might be a Nebraska record or something like that. But, yeah, Huskers fans. So I'm friends with a couple of Huskers fans, and it's a rough time because – so they're like 3rd-generation Huskers fans, so they grew up, and their pops talking about like Tom Osborne and stuff. And they're just thinking it's like, oh, the big red machine and the black shirts defense is gonna be back. No, it's not, man. It's not. It's never coming back. Like, you are a mid-tier Big Ten school, and that's not saying much. It's rough, but I don't know. Keep hope alive. There you go. Logan Weiss. Is this the worst running back class in the last 20 years? No. I mean, it's actually a pretty good running back class, man. So Travis Etienne is going to be a high-end player no matter what. I mean, it could be a spot where there are no running backs taken the first round, but that's fine. But Etienne is legit. Najee Harris is legit. Demetric Felton, even though he is a wide receiver, is absolutely legit. Chuba Hubbard, I think is going to be great value in the 4th round. Could see him end up being like a Jordan Howard type value when he was coming out of Indiana. I believe he was a 4th-round pick by the Bears. Back in the day. Javonte had himself a hell of a week. Michael Carter had himself a hell of a week down at the Senior Bowl. I mean, did Trey Sermon go back to school? No, Trey Sermon's out. No, the other one, the other Ohio State running back went back to school, right? Yeah, so now this is a good running backs class. It's not, in terms of high-end guys, it's Etienne, it's Najee, it's Carter. That's probably about it. I mean, Javonte, the other UNC running back, sure. But yeah, in terms of like first round top 10 guys, I mean, you don't have that, but I think that the running back position has been sufficiently devalued where you're probably not going to see that for a while. So there you go. But that's it. That's a Daily Jerome's live stream for a Monday. Thanks for coming along. You guys are the best. Subscribe for Daily Vikings takes. We'll talk to you tomorrow.